Hi, and welcome to Speak with Comfort Booth, the platform where we try to encourage you to find yourself, find your voice, and speak up. Normally, I would, restrict it, to women. But these days, men seem to be finding their voices. And I have had more than one guy on set. And so today, I have another guy who is going to speak with us. Just an ordinary guy. I met him on the streets of life. And that's why it's important to build relationships. And it's because of building relationships, he's here. So I'm not going to introduce him. I would like him to introduce himself. And this is because it's part of finding yourself. Who do you see yourself as? So I'll hand over the floor to him. Let's hear how you'd introduce yourself.
Good morning, Comfort Booth. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. Mm-hmm. My name is Richard Ali. I'm a Nigerian, of course, lawyer, writer, and I'm the author of the novel City of Memories. I live here in Abuja where I practice law and do several other things.
And you see, that's why I like the little exercise. All I heard was your work. Who is Richard Ali? Who is he?
I would like to think that I'm a person who has a difficult relationship with my country. Nonetheless, I'm a very passionate and I believe a patriotic Nigerian. Mm-hmm. And I hope to see the very best of this country, a country where the various parts of the country work together in more harmony than we have been used to, mm-hmm. and less of conflict.
Okay.
That's really it.
But that's not who Richard is.
Okay. So,
I still want to know, who is Richard?
I'm just a guy trying very hard in a very urban city, which can be very hard for a boy from Jos, But I wake up every morning and I try to keep my head up in this rather bewildering city of Abuja.
Yeah, too much English. Too much English. Writer. What was your City of Memories about?
Oh, City of Memories is a novel about Jos and basically the conflict in Jos. This was September 2001. And the conflict caught us in Jos, and we had to seek refuge at a mobile police barracks. So that was when I gave my life some thinking, and I felt, okay, wait a minute. What if all the civil conflict we've had in northern Nigeria at that time, and the whole of the country now, what if it had started as a love story that went wrong? Okay. And that was where the key characters were created. Okay. It's a love story, basically. And after the fight over a girl, mm-hmm. one becomes a Christian, one becomes a Muslim, and they burn the city down. And other copycats take inspiration from that. But it's essentially a love story.
Okay, you didn't bring a copy for me?
I'll make sure I bring one for you.
Okay. And so today, actually, why I dragged Richard into the studio is we're going to talk about marriage. Marriage is something that this side of the Atlantic we don't joke with, and we don't joke with it anywhere in the world. But I think it's literally a foundational issue for us on this side of the Atlantic. And so today we're going to talk about marriage from the viewpoint of, should we rethink what the principles of marriage, are? Should we call it modern marriage? What are marriages looking like, these days? Is it better or worse? And so I'm going to start off with just asking, are you married, Richard?
Yes, I'm guilty of being married. Yes, I am married.
Okay.
Recently married.
Mm-hmm. And what does marriage mean to you?
Well, I think marriage is basically a token that you pay to society. So someone like me, I'm not very young, so it took quite a while to get married. So over the course of my life, over a 20-year period, society has been demanding, get married, and I've been resisting. Okay. Until the point when I had to give up and pay that token to society. Mm-hmm. So that's my thinking. As currently understood, it's a token that at a certain point you have to pay to society. You have to, of course, negotiate, how, the nitty-gritties of it.
I love how you are very clear in your mind about, what marriage means to you. Because normally, marriage is looked at as a female thing. And so, women tend to be the ones who drive the conversation on marriage. And so, I want to use this time to, just to explore the mind of one guy on what marriage, means to him. And usually, you guys think along the same line. So
we're not very sophisticated. Okay, that was below the belt. But most men don't want to get married. They are uninterested in getting married. There's nothing in it for them.
What do you mean there's nothing in it for them?
There's nothing in it for them.
Okay, so why did you, so this token you paid, on what was the payment for?
For your mother, for your sisters, for your relatives, for the girl's mother, for the girl's sisters, for the girl's relatives. That's who you pay the token to.
So do you think you were being true to yourself? If you had resisted that long, why didn't you resist to the end?
Because we're human and we're fallible and we do these things and we reverse ourselves. And the things that 10 years ago were red lines and suddenly they've all shivered, and then you say, okay, what the hell?
But Richard, you look better than I've known all this while. You actually look better. And the only new thing that has happened to you is that you got married.
No, but I am also growing older.
Okay, so situate that with being married then.
It's unrelated, to be honest.
So you grew older, and then what changed for you that you married? Because you are saying they're unrelated. No,
it's completely unrelated. I'm growing older, so definitely I will look better until a certain point where you hit a ceiling, and then, your body starts to betray you and it starts to fall apart, which is what bodies tend to do.
But you're looking better. You're not looking worse.
Yes, because I'm still on that upslope. I've not hit that point where it goes down.
So you're not going to give this to the nurturing, the taking care of, the support that you now have another individual providing for you in the marriage space.
I've been unmarried for 40 years and I've managed not to poison myself with any of the meals I have cooked or eaten outside.
But that's not what marriage is only about.
Yeah, but then even the issue of nurturing, for God's sake, we live in a world where we are far more individual.
Yes.
We're far more ourselves, and we live on far more our terms than our parents ever were. I think that at the root of the problem of marriage is what I would call a chaos of perceptions. You have a chaos of perceptions. You've got perceptions about this very imprecise thing, and these perceptions are running about all over the place and butting heads with each other. So it creates a chaos of perceptions. When you look at it, we're all from one part of the world or the other. Okay. Ethnic groups, ethnic nationalities, tribes, whatever you want to call it. The notions of marriage that existed in our ethnic groups have very, very little relations with what we think of marriage today.
What do you think of marriage now that you are in it? Coming from someone who was reluctant to be in it.
I think marriage is something that requires continuous negotiation. I do not think that marriage should be a permanent thing. I think it is something that routinely you should, if you now, of course, it's best not to get married at all. Okay. However, if you do get married, it's important to always negotiate it every day. But then at set periods, maybe every 5 years, you should actually sit down. Should we continue getting married? Or should we all go? Amicably, you should be able to talk about this and look at your dreams and where it is you want to go to and how it's going without acrimony, without the idea that there's some sacred, magical thing going on. As two adults who are equal, we should be able to regularly talk to each other and say, look, okay, should we continue with this? What is it that I have done which doesn't work? What would I like to see? Where are you going over the next 5 years? What do you need? Can I give that support? Can't I give that support? And we figure it out. And if it works, then we continue being married. But if it doesn't work, then we should also be able to leave each other. I
find the concept very interesting, very appealing, I would say. Where you would take marriage and say, let's box it in years, or decades. So if we stay together for 10 years, then we know, okay, our threshold probably should be the decades. So 10, 20, 30 years, and then we break it down.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at it in line with how marriage was sold to us. It's a lifelong thing.
Yeah.
With your concept, it's not lifelong.
No.
You're coming into it consciously, knowing that we're going to have a check-in at either the 5-year mark, 10-year mark, 15-year mark, and decide whether or not we want to amicably part ways.
Yeah.
Wouldn't this be disruptive for not just you, the children who would be born and who need a stable environment and even society, who now has to deal with you serial husband.
Or serial wife.
Okay, or serial wife, as the case may be.
No, but for society, you have paid your token to society by getting married at all.
Okay, one.
You've paid your token to society by getting married.
But I have a problem with that.
For children. Yeah.
I have a problem with that. You know, it's almost as if you gave in. I don't want to get married. Society is not the one wearing the shoe for me.
Yeah.
So why would men think of it as a token? It's almost as if, you're being dragged into it. So why do it? Sorry, before you continue.
Yeah, but look at it this way, all right? There are things you don't want to bother about.
Okay.
For example, let's assume you're cohabiting with somebody, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're cohabiting with somebody. It's purely, consensual. Nobody has any problem with that. But you have perhaps the 100 people in this whole world of several billions people who you care about, and they are bothered by the fact that, my nephew is not married. My grandchildren will be born under a pall of illegitimacy. This. The fact that you love these people,
okay,
and that they are bothered about this, takes mental resources from yourself.
Yeah.
And it takes mental resources from your partner as well. Especially from the women's point of view. Because at the end of the day, okay, a man can always, but no matter how it is, a woman is judged even more harshly by society.
Definitely.
There's no doubt it's unfair, but that's the reality of it, that women are judged very, very harshly by issues like marriage or the lack thereof, having children, the lack thereof, and things that are quite ridiculous when you look at it. But society, or having male children, female, it's ridiculous, the amounts of things. So if as a man you have these pressures and you don't want to bother about these pressures, imagine those are like times 2 for your spouse.
Yeah, okay.
So you get married.
So pay the token.
Pay the token to society.
Make your
sacrifice.
sacrifice.
To society, and you and your partner, you can work at it in your own peculiar way and create that marriage that can work.
So the disruption.
And so long as it works.
The disruption.
Yeah.
Doesn't it disrupt you, the children, and even the society that you paid the token for?
I think children deserve more credit than we give them. Absolutely.
Okay.
They are smarter than we think. They are more adaptable than we think. You have had situations where, for example, the father of a young child dies, and the child knows that its father has died. It grows up and becomes a normal, outstanding citizen. But you also have another situation where the father, let's say, has run away, or the mother has run away, and that same child grows up traumatized by it.
That's the point.
The question is, how do you bring this child up? What does the child know? In both cases that I have brought up now, the father is absent.
Yeah, but one was nature that took him. So you don't fight nature.
Exactly. So explain it to the child. Keep the child in view. Children are smarter than we imagine. A 5-year, let's go with your 10-year threshold. Let's assume, okay, the normal average biologies of it, because even getting pregnant is really difficult. So let's say a 10-year threshold.
Okay.
Let's say by year 3, the biology works and you get pregnant. You already have a 7-year-old by the time that 10-year threshold is there.
Yes.
You can absolutely have a conversation with a 7-year-old. Look, we are still the center of our lives. Okay, but me and mommy, we have to have this conversation. And look, this is it. Involve the child in these things. I'm not saying tell them things that are above their pay grade, but the issue of relationships, okay, so this is it, all right. Yes, I'm for a radical rethinking of marriage, but I'm also for a radical rethinking of our relationships with our children.
Okay.
The sort of from my cultural background, fathers especially tend to be a bit standoffish. The whole, even mothers, the whole kunya thing and that thing.
Let's
of interpersonal
relationship, because you don't want it to.
I'm not a believer in that. These children these days, it will not work.
No, but
we were brought up, we can't bring up our kids that way.
I don't even think the internet is allowing them to grow up that way. So you have to catch up with them.
Absolutely.
But let's go back to where you said that you want a radical rethink. I think already you have given us one point, which is let's sit down and have checkpoints.
Yeah.
I don't want to continue with you. Okay, so what happens in that place where one wants to continue, one doesn't want to continue? Because it's just like a divorce.
Then you can't continue.
Okay, because negative will cancel the positive.
That is it.
So
you see, for me, maybe it's a radical notion, but I actually believe that married people are both very equal to each other. And if you cannot achieve a consensus, then there is no consensus.
There's no need.
That is it. You see, I think the worst thing that has happened in our society, in Nigerian society, is this idea of marriage as something inescapable. Once you get in, it's for life, it's forever. And this leads to all sorts of retail type nonsense. Like the woman, the woman who got killed, the singer,
Osinachi woman. Yes.
No one is certain what is going on for real, but what is clear is that, there was a marriage that should have broken down long ago.
Okay, so I want to go back to this, the radical rethink, because if we're going to even use her as, a case study, the thing here is that we are brought up, both sides are brought up and told that, marriage is forever. Come rain, come shine, for better, for worse.
Yeah.
Words that were construed, not adopted. Now, how do you radically change that? Because don't forget that we are a religious society, and marriage is based on religion. The fact that God, created Adam and Eve and instituted the first marriage. So how do you go from that to now say, no, we are not even looking at how you told us to do it. We are deciding how we even want to do it. In her case, it was the issue of you must stay there because God hates divorce, and therefore that brainwashed nonsense of it's absolute nonsense, and unfortunately it's what is on the front burner. I think for me that is where I think the radical change in marriage should be. Not the foreverness.
Yeah, but here's the thing, all right? Often than not, the radical is not even new. It's a different mode of thinking. Okay, so the fact that I am alive now means that for the last 10,000, 15,000 years, I'm descended from people for the last 15,000 years, 5,000, 10,000. In my part of the country, my ancestors arrived there 500 years ago from Sudan or wherever it is they came from. When did Christianity arrive there? This whole idea that we're using Christianity now, the idea that a marriage is some sacred, sacramental thing.
50
years ago.
No,
before 50, 70 years ago, 100 years ago, even 200 years ago. The history of men's cultural relationships with women in where I am from my ethnic group, is 5,000 years old. 6,000 years, 7,000
I see where you're coming from. So, of course, there was a pre-existence.
Yes, there were pre-existing modes. And the idea, if you were to go back to my great-grandmother or my great-grandfather and you tell him that because you are married, it should be forever, he would laugh you out of the room.
No, you should stick to one woman.
You should stick to one woman or even one man. That's it. Often than not, it was a question, if the marriage breaks down, you return the bride price, which was often than not a token in the first
but
place.
it's not like that now. But
so
Richard,
we have to go back to those modes of thinking and see what was good, what made it work then.
So I love the way you couched it, a radical rethink. And I think where we can agree on is, yes, there should be, but for me, it's the point. For you, it's the foreverness. For me, it's the fact that if you marry, you must die in it. I think that is it for me. So we're going to, thank you so much. We're going to stop here, but I might have you back so that we can now talk about the viewpoints, clearly. You want to say one more thing?
It would absolutely be a pleasure. I've enjoyed this conversation.
I really enjoyed it.
I hope my wife doesn't lock me out of the house.
Because you have already told her now that it's 5 years and you're going to do checkpoint.
There you go.
So I always do a little game, and today we're going to do what? Yes. And so here it is. Let's see whether you have you have a fast mouth. Let's see if you have fast fingers.
Okay, there
you know how to play what now?
Yes,
you can remember rather, not that you know how to play what. Okay. So I share, and then all right. So let's oh yeah now.
Okay.
Oh yeah now. Pick 3.
Oh shit! Look at me. Okay, so there you
last
go.
card.
Okay. There you go.
Check.
come on. I have a very bad hand. Okay.
Good for you. And so this brings us to the end of this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave your comments. Let's discuss, the radical rethink of marriage. So see you next time. Comfort Booth. And thank you, Richard, for coming in.
My pleasure and time. Thank you so much. Yeah. Bye-bye.